The grand ballroom sparkled with crystal chandeliers and white roses everywhere you looked. Sarah Martinez smoothed down her red dress and tried to smile as guests filed past her table in the corner. She was 38 years old and sitting completely alone at her younger sister's wedding. The empty chairs around her felt like a spotlight on everything she had lost in the past year. Her divorce had been finalized just 6 months ago, and her ex-husband was already remarried. Her sister Emily had seated her at the singles table, but everyone else had brought dates or simply not shown up. Sarah watched happy couples swaying on the dance floor and felt tears threatening to spill. She had helped plan this entire wedding, working late nights on centerpieces and seating charts. But now she sat invisible in her corner, while champagne flowed and laughter echoed through the room. A shadow fell across her table, and Sarah looked up to see a man in a navy suit standing there. He had kind eyes and looked to be in his early 40s, with perfectly styled dark hair, showing hints of gray. Behind him stood a young boy about 7 years old, tugging nervously at his bow tie. The man leaned down close and spoke, quietly so only Sarah could hear. "Act like you are with me." His voice was gentle but urgent. "My son Jackson keeps asking why we are sitting at the kids' table, and honestly I cannot take another conversation about Minecraft with the flower girl." Sarah blinked in surprise as the man pulled out the chair beside her. "Please," he said with a slight smile. "I am David Chun, and this is my first wedding since my wife passed 2 years ago. Jackson needs to see his dad being social, and I desperately need an adult conversation." Something in his honest vulnerability made Sarah nod slowly. The boy Jackson climbed into the chair across from them and immediately started arranging the silverware into a pattern. "Your dress is really red," he announced, "like a fire truck." Sarah felt herself smile for the first time all evening. "Thank you, I think." Jackson grinned, showing a missing front tooth. "Dad says I should not point out what people are wearing, but I think it is pretty." David shook his head with affection. "What I actually said was maybe do not tell Aunt Margaret her hat looks like a dead bird." Sarah laughed out loud, and suddenly the weight on her chest felt a little lighter. As dinner was served, David told her about being a widower and single father. His wife Rebecca had died of cancer, leaving him to figure out bedtimes and school projects alone. "I burned macaroni and cheese last week," he confessed. "I did not even know that was possible, but Jackson ate it anyway and told me it tasted crunchy on purpose." Jackson nodded seriously. "It was not good, but Dad tries really hard." Sarah found herself opening up to telling David about her divorce and feeling like she had failed. Her ex had wanted children, and she had struggled with infertility for years. Eventually, he had left her for someone younger who got pregnant within months. "I felt like I was not enough," she admitted quietly. "Like my body had betrayed me and cost me everything." David reached over and gently touched her hand. "You are more than enough. Your worth is not measured by anyone else's expectations or limitations." The words settled into Sarah's heart like a healing balm. Jackson suddenly stood up on his chair. "Dad, there is cake. Can we get cake now?" David pulled his son down with practiced ease. "Soon, buddy. First we have to watch the bride and groom cut it." "But I can see it from here," Jackson protested. "Why do we have to watch them cut it when we could be eating it?" Sarah laughed again. "He makes an excellent point." As the evening continued, Sarah felt herself relaxing in a way she had not in months. David was easy to talk to, sharing stories about his late wife without drowning in grief. He spoke of Rebecca with love, but also with acceptance that life continued forward. "She would have liked you," he said at one point. "Rebecca always said the best people are the ones who have survived storms and still choose kindness." When the DJ announced the father-daughter dance, Jackson tugged on David's sleeve. "Are you going to be sad now?" David hugged his son close. "A little bit, buddy. Mom loved to dance. Can Sarah dance with you instead?" Jackson asked with the simple logic of childhood. "So you are not alone." David looked at Sarah with questioning eyes, and she found herself nodding. They moved to the edge of the dance floor as a slow song began. David held her carefully like she was something precious that might break. "I have not danced in 2 years," he admitted. "Fair warning, I might step on your feet." "I have not danced since my wedding," Sarah replied. "And that marriage ended in divorce, so maybe we are both due for better memories." They swayed together, finding an easy rhythm. Sarah noticed her sister Emily watching from across the room with surprised approval. The woman who had pitied her enough to seat her alone now saw her laughing with someone. Sarah realized she did not need her sister's approval or anyone's pity. She just needed to remember she was still whole, still worthy, still here. As the song ended, Jackson ran up and hugged both their legs. "You look happy, Dad." David ruffled his son's hair. "I am, Buddy. I really am." Sarah knelt down to Jackson's level. "Thank you for sharing your dad with me tonight. You are a pretty great kid." Jackson beamed. "Dad says I am a handful, but I think that just means my hands are full of awesome." Before they left, David wrote his number on a cocktail napkin. "I know this started as a rescue mission," he said with a smile, "but I would really like to see you again. Maybe coffee or dinner, without the pressure of a wedding." Sarah took the napkin, feeling hope flutter in her chest for the first time in months. "I would like that." As she watched them leave Jackson's hand tucked safely in his father's, she felt something shift inside her. She had come to this wedding feeling broken and invisible, but a kind stranger and his honest little boy had reminded her that endings are not always permanent. Sometimes the people who save us are the ones who need saving too. Sometimes sitting alone is just a moment before you are found. And sometimes the most beautiful love stories start with someone brave enough to say, "Act like you are with me." 6 months later, Sarah and David would have their own first dance. And Jackson would be right there between them, holding both their hands. Please tell me where you are watching my video from, and at what time. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe. Leave a comment below telling us about a time when a stranger's kindness changed your day. Your story might inspire someone else who needs hope today.